Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Stay tuned to hear more about all that Skillshare has to offer. Hey guys, welcome back to PencilStash. Hope you all are doing absolutely fantastic. Today we're going to be coloring a page from one of my absolutely favorite coloring books. This is the original Romantic Country, and I colored so many pages in this book that I actually bought a brand new one. So I have colored just a couple of pages from this one, but I wanted to recolor pages that I'd colored before. Thought that would be super fun, and just kind of start this book over from scratch. There are 3 in total kind of tales here, versions of this. Romantic Country, the original, second tale, third tale. I'll leave all of these in a link down in the description, just in case you want to get a hold of these. I think some of them might be out of print, but I was lucky enough to snag this one again, and I thought that we could do this page. This page has been just kind of calling to me. I do a little bit of a veggie garden in my backyard, and things are kind of starting to pop. We're already getting cucumbers, we're getting some early girl tomatoes. I've got carrots that are, kind of starting to shoulder. The actual leaf parts are just absolutely going crazy. So I thought it would be really fun to color this page. And I've already pulled what I think is probably going to be like a lot of the main colors that I'm going to be using. I pulled a lot of browns and a lot of different greens and some oranges here, just in the carrots and whatnot. We can kind of spread this around, but a lot of this is going to be greens and browns, and I'm going to try to liven it up, just have it not be so kind of flat with like 2 colors. So I'm going to use a wide variety of like light greens and bright greens and a whole bunch of different ones. So I hope that you guys are down for this today. Let's jump into it. So the first thing I'd like to do is actually the big heads of lettuce or cabbage. I'm not quite sure. I think this might be cabbage. But one of the things that I want to do first is actually pull just some super bright pale sage colors out of this. Again, I just really want it to be varied and not kind of read all as one like mid-tone green. So I'm going to use pale sage, and let's just kind of pick one to start with. I'm going to do just a little bit of a layer of this kind of up here along the top, and then maybe just a little bit down here. And what this is going to do is just kind of act as my placeholder for just some of these like lighter, brighter colors, and then we will just continue to add different greens as we go. Now I'll use a little bit more of a mid-tone green. Whoa. Now I'll use a little bit of a mid-tone green with this apple green. And I'm not too worried about exactly where this is kind of going to land. I'm going to be adding a lot more color on top of this. So what I really want to do is just kind of leave the highlights intact. And finally with peacock green, I'm going to go in and just start to kind of add in some of these like shadow areas. These areas that I want a very dark color. And I'm also going to put this kind of around that like back spine kind of area down here at the bottom. And then I'm actually going to go back over the entire thing with the first color that I used. I'm just going to use this as a little bit of a blender. And I'm just going to go back in and just kind of continue to refine this until I'm happy. And I believe in throw in some browns here just to kind of darken up some of these areas. All right, that'll work for now, and that is very simple, and it's kind of on purpose because I actually want to finish it off with my white gel pen and just kind of add in some of that like really super white, bright kind of veining that you see in cabbage and lettuce, and I think it'll come out nice. And what I want to do is just kind of go right over this, and I'm going to follow some of these lines here, and then I'm going to kind of branch off. And of course my white gel pen's not cooperating. Let's try this one. Oh, this one works. All right, we're going to switch to the jelly roll. So I'm just gonna sort of go right over top of my colored pencil with this. And I'm just really looking for like a little bit of that pop. And it's a little hard to see right over the super light spots, but I think we can kind of get the gist here. All right, I like that. I'm gonna do the same on the others. All right, my white's not showing up as vividly as I would like, but I think I'm kind of getting the general idea across. And when this dries, I might even go back in later and kind of add an additional layer. So we'll just kind of revisit that. In the meantime, let's jump down and maybe play with the carrots. And I grabbed just a couple of kind of yellows and oranges, and I have a hard time sharpening this one. We'll see if we get to use it. But essentially, I want to create a little bit of a gradient, so I'm going to use Spanish orange. Let's do this one. And I'm just going to kind of put this down in a little bit of a column, like that. And then I'll use cadmium orange hue to just kind of fill this out. And then because my pumpkin orange isn't quite working, I might take chestnut and just use this kind of reddish brown to drive home some of these darker spots. Go back over. And then maybe mineral orange. I'll just kind of go over this. And then I think this one might need a blend. So we'll just take a colorless blender. There we go. And then I am going to take the same jelly roll, and I'm just going to try to kind of add a little bit of a highlight here. Oh, perfect. See, there it went over just fine. All right, the orange carrots are done. There are obviously still the green tops to do, and I think these are carrots as well, so we'll just kind of treat those the same. And now that I'm noticing it, it happens every single time, but I forgot a cabbage. So I'll have to go back in and do that very similarly to the ones that we did before. For the tops of the carrots for now, I'm gonna take True Green, and I'm just gonna go over, this is a really kind of funky, kind of seafoamy green. And again, I just want a little bit of variation between all these greens. If you use the same ones as you did on the cabbage and whatnot, it just gets a little bit boring. So I want it to feel cohesive, but I do not want it to feel same. So let's see what we do here. This is, what is this, marine green? 988. Yep, this is marine green. And I'm just going to pair this like really kind of seafoamy green with this kind of very earthy green, and we'll see what we get. I'm just gonna extend some of these little kind of veins through the middle. Yeah, I don't know that these two colors kind of go together, but I think I'm okay with that. Maybe we can add just a little bit of this peacock green to the bottom, just to maybe bridge this gap a little bit better. And maybe cover just a little bit more of this kind of bright green. I'm just going to use my blender to hopefully bring it all together. Yeah, I think that works. That works. I'll do the same on the rest. All right, our carrots are looking good. I went back in and did this little cabbage over here. I just know I'm gonna find more. I'm kind of considering these in the background like something different. Maybe we'll do those as cauliflower, just as an opportunity to not use green. But sticking with our green theme, I think we're gonna tackle the trees right now. And just from like a thought process standpoint, I was thinking just because there's so much green on our page, like do I wanna add in a little bit of maybe like just like a kiss of like autumn kind of theming? You know, this is very much kind of a harvest kind of page. So maybe I will try to work in a little bit of my oranges, maybe a little bit of my like Spanish yellow, just to maybe also bring some of this orange from the bottom of the page, bring it upwards. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. I just want to make sure that it looks cohesive and that it looks purposeful and that I can blend it well. So those are really my only concerns, but I think we'll be okay. So I'm actually going to start with this Crayola color. It's called Palm Leaf. I really, really like this one. It's just a really nice, kind of innocent, super light green, and to me it's a great color to just kind of highlight these trees with, just kind of as we look to kind of have the sun hitting them. So I'm going to focus this maybe on like the kind of big like open areas, maybe along some of these edges. And I do kind of have to decide like where is the sun kind of hitting, just so that it's not like here on this tree and then, you know, on the other side on this tree, just so it makes sense. And I think I might just kind of have it hitting maybe like the, like from maybe here to about here, just so that maybe the sun is kind of coming in from this angle. So I'll just kind of have it limited to maybe like the top third on the left side and maybe the top 2/3 on the right side. And I'm also just gonna intersperse it here as well. Like it's hitting not only the very, very edge of the tree that we see, but also the front. And instead of maybe these super bright colors, maybe I'll bring in a little bit of like just a kiss of yellow so that we can kind of ease into this. So I'm gonna use this Blick Studios cream color and we'll just kind of see what we get here. I think it'll blend in really nicely with this green. Now I'm gonna take Crayola Yellow Green. I think this will be a good kind of medium, sort of mid-tone. I think it'll blend nicely. And this is yet another reason why I like using Crayola colors, just because I do find them to be just a little bit less pigmented than the Prismacolors, and when I really have a hard time being a bit too heavy-handed, I find it just kind of is a little bit of extra insurance with some of these less pigmented pencils. And it's just a personal preference. I don't know if this is the right thing to do. I don't know if there is a right thing to do at all, or whether it's just all just personal preference, but my personal preference is I like to put down my highlight kind of individually first, and then I go in with my midtone and I actually color almost every single other part of the shape with my midtone. And then I go over top of that with my dark kind of tone. So my dark tone is typically never kind of on the white paper on its own. I don't know when I developed that habit. It's just kind of a personal preference, but that is just kind of the way that I like to color. And kind of talking it out with you guys actually kind of made me a lot more aware of my habits and kind of allowed me to be like, do I want to keep doing that? Am I missing out on, you know, something? And, you know, it is kind of a nice way to kind of identify some of those things to either keep because that's your style and you like it, or maybe try something different because all of a sudden you kind of became aware of it. All right, so there's my mid-tone. Now for my darker tone, I'm going to use this Prussian green. And I'm going to focus this in kind of these areas where like the canopy would be kind of the densest. Is that a word? Densest? It sounds wrong, but you guys know what I mean. So kind of here, like amongst the kind of center column of the trunk and kind of underneath some of these areas where it looks like these are more kind of towards the foreground or kind of towards us. And I will leave a little bit of a kind of a light colored kind of skirt or canopy around the edges. And then I just kind of like to intersperse a little bit just to give a little bit of dimension and shape to a very two-dimensionally drawn object. And then I'm going to go back in with that same yellow green that I used before as our mid-tone, and I'm just going to sort of reinforce this and just add a little bit of an additional layer, just kind of help to refine some of these shapes. And this is actually also blending, so I am definitely doing a bunch of things here with this step. And I do like this kind of yellow layer that I added. I think it's definitely kind of giving me that just like little hint of fall without necessarily going full on autumnal colors. Again, this is just a process. It's definitely not a one and done. I like to just continually go in and kind of refine and keep bringing in previously used colors, introduce new colors. Just really depends on kind of the outcomes that I'm getting. And you either like it and you continue, or you don't like it and you pivot. I definitely think this is missing something. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of this peacock green. I'm just gonna amp up some of these dark spots here. It was looking just a little bit muddy, and I definitely gear towards earthy tones, but I think there is a fine line between earthy and muddy, and I try to walk that line without crossing over into it. All right, let's dive into yet another green combination. Right now I want to do the cucumbers, and I think I'm going to use a combination of teal and pine green just to give a little bit of, again, just a little bit of differentiation between all of the greens that are going to be here on our page. So let's do this one here. Just do a little kind of once over kind of foundational layer of teal. It's a good kind of cucumber base color. And then we'll take pine green and let's see if we can kind of jazz it up a little bit. And I only kind of did it like here and then along the edge and then along the bottom. And then the rest I am leaving teal. And then I want to take a dark brown, let's take sepia, and I'm just going to kind of dirty it up a little bit, just so it's not so perfect. Cucumbers are, you know, kind of gnarly sometimes. I'll just kind of dirty this one up a little bit. And then we'll go back over it with teal. And then I kind of want to also take my white gel pen and I want to add a little bit of kind of reflection lines. That works. Just a little bit of interest. And again, we'll do the same on all of the ones here and the ones in the basket. I'm not going to forget this time. All right, I think we're good with the cucumbers. Now I'm going to tackle the leaves. And again, I want to try to pull out a little bit of a difference. I want the cucumbers to stand out a little bit. So I actually pulled a couple of light greens. I actually have cucumbers in my garden right now, and they have very kind of mid-toned kind of leaves. So I am going to kind of use the pale sage here. Which one should I do? Let's do this one. And again, I'm just gonna have just like little kind of areas of highlight. And then I am gonna pull out this like kind of funky true green again, just again for that little differentiation. And we'll just kind of surround our highlight. And then let's try this spring green. This one's fun. It might be a little bit too similar to the trees up above. I don't know. I'm not too worried. I think what we can do is actually go in and just kind of, we can embellish with a darker color. Just gonna get it nice and sharp so that we can, and maybe we can kind of go over this a little bit and just kind of extend it. And we can kind of embellish a little bit here. That works. Just a little bit of interest. And then I can actually go back to the pale sage, and I'm just gonna soften this just a little bit. And back to peacock. And I'm just gonna kind of dirty it up a little bit. And when I say dirty it up, I just mean like, I'm just gonna go around the edges a little bit and just kind of further define it. Maybe a little bit in these corners. Just, you know, dirty it up. That works. I like that. All right, there is a lot of green going on this page, so I want to break it up a little bit. I really like how the orange kind of pops, and there's an opportunity here to play with these leaves or this plant kind of sticking up out of the ground. I don't know what it is, so we're gonna make it up and have some fun. And I pulled like a really poppy red, some henna, some dark purple, and also some black cherry. And I thought we could just kind of maybe just play around with this. So what I'm gonna do is just maybe start with my poppy red, maybe put like a little bit up here at the tips. And then I don't know if I'm gonna use all these colors that I pulled, but I kind of started with like poppy red and dark purple, but I don't know if it was actually going to kind of give me what I was looking for. So I had sort of like a bright option and a conservative option. So let's try the bright option, and if anything, we can maybe just kind of tone it down with these. So this is dark purple. This is sort of the one that I wanted to jump off into. Oh yes, it's not too bad. I think it does definitely need like a little something else. So let's try my black cherry. I just want like the very tips to be red. And then maybe we'll just blend this. This has green all over it. Don't forget to clean off your blenders. It's definitely a way to transfer color. So you can either take like a piece of scrap paper and just kind of rub this off, or you can sharpen it to get a little bit of that off. This is definitely more wasteful, but I didn't have a scratch piece of paper, so it's okay. Could be worse. I like it. It definitely adds just a little bit of interest. And I think I will also, just kind of going off of the theme here, I'm just gonna take my white gel pen and we can just sort of add some little tiny embellishments. All right, I finished my little pop of color here, and I did do it over on this side as well, until I realized while I was coloring them that like these have 3 leaves and these have 2. They're probably 2 different plants, but I really wanted to balance, you know, this little bit of color over here on this side of the page as well. So I just decided this is the 2-leaf version of this plant and this is the 3. That's like totally a thing, right? All right, let's give our greens and our colors just a little bit of a break. And I want to move on to the dirt, which I think I'm gonna have this be grass just for a little bit of like visual interest. And then I'm just gonna have this section and this section be dirt. All right, so we're gonna take antique brass, and I kind of, again, want to play with a little bit of the dimension. So I kind of want to highlight maybe like on this ridge right here. So I'm just going to start laying this down in the places where I kind of want my highlights, essentially. So that's not going to be like in between the big shadows of the cabbage. You know, it's really just going to be like those big open areas where the sunlight will be hitting the most. And I'm not really worried about like it being perfect or like making specific shapes, because obviously we're going to come back in with some other colors and lay those down, kind of overlapping this one. So this is really just sort of, you know, adding in my highlight placeholders so I can be a little bit rough with it. And we are going to transition to this Crayola light brown. And I really do like the Crayolas. Again, they're not as saturated as the Prismacolors. And I do want a bit of a light hand here at this kind of initial stage before we kind of start to go in and deepen some of the pigmentation. So this is a little bit of a warmer brown than the kind of cool tones of the antique brass. So this is a supplemental color. I'm going to sort of go over certain areas with this just to add a little bit of that warmth tone, just so it's not so one note over the whole kind of surface that we colored before. And then I'm also going to be placing this down in new areas just to have this also kind of on its own. All right, that's good. Now I'm going to go in with one of my darkest tones. I actually pulled 3 more colors that we haven't used yet. So sepia is sort of my medium brown, my medium dark brown, and then espresso is my like super dark brown. This one is very saturated. It's kind of almost black. So I'm going to save this one for just really where I want to kind of drive home some of those deep darks. And then I also have a chestnut, and I think I might come back in after I use these to just sort of blend a little bit against some of the more light browns to just add this a little bit. So again, I'm going to start with sepia. And one of the places where I definitely know that I want to put this is kind of in this, where this sort of dirt hill sort of turns and then goes into this one. So this is going to be an edge that this side will be highlighted, and then this side will be sort of in a little bit of shadow. And don't worry about blending at this point. I'm going to come back in and we can make it all look very cohesive. Now, the other place that I really want to focus this is in between my kind of larger items, just because I think that the dirt would be a bit more, I don't want to say like disturbed here, but a bit more kind of utilized. And it would also be in shadow just because these cabbages are going to be, you know, bigger, and it's going to not be highlighted. It'll be a bit in shadow. And again, this is a very middle stage still, so it might be a little rough looking, but don't worry, we will keep adding as we go. All right, that color was a little bit darker than I was going for, so I think I need something a bit in the middle and a bit warmer. So I pulled chocolate, and I'm kind of hoping that this will just sort of help kind of bridge the gap. Oh yeah, there we go. Here's a good dirt color. I think that this is just going to be that nice kind of medium tone that, again, bridges the gap between some of these like super cool kind of dark shadows and the light colors that I laid down momentarily ago. So in certain areas, I'm even going to go over the sepia just to add a little bit of this warmth. It'll still read as darker than this would be on its own, but I just want it to be a little bit warmer. And then if need be, we can always go back over this with some darker colors just to add in a little bit extra. But sometimes when you put down colors that, you know, you think are going to work, or in the order that you think that they're going to work, they just don't. So you kind of have to pivot, and I think it'll all work out. All right, one step further into my multi-step dirt process. Now I think I'm gonna go back in with espresso. Now that I've kind of added that medium warmer tone brown, I'm gonna go back in and just kind of like drive home some of the darker spots that I want. So that's really going to be along this ridge. I don't want these two things to kind of blend in together, so I definitely want to distinguish and give a little bit of dimension here. That's better. I'm also going to go in with this and just kind of go in underneath some of these like bigger objects here and just really kind of create a bit of a shadow. And remember, it's not just right underneath the object. Depending on where the sun is kind of coming from, it'll kind of extend out a little bit too. And just make sure that they're just kind of like rough, organic, kind of shadowy shapes. And I'll do it underneath the carrots as well, but just a little bit smaller. And this part I'm not really worried about blending, because this is definitely, you know, an area where it would be, you know, a very stark contrast here. All right, now is time to really put our hands through the ringer. We are going to blend, and I'm going to use a Prismacolor blending pencil, which can be a bit hard on your wrist, so I'm going to probably do this in a couple of different stages with a little bit of a break in between. But essentially, I'm just going to go in and use some kind of hard pressure, circular strokes to just kind of push and pull all of these colors together. And just be careful when you have like darks against super lights. If you don't want that transfer, just go right up to the light area and then just sort of stop. And then when you want to go into here, you can start with the dark and then kind of push it upwards. But just be careful because, you know, these pigments are kind of pushed and pulled around with this medium. So there is a good opportunity for some color transfer or bleed, you know, bleed over. Just make sure you keep your colors where you want them. All right, the dirt is blended, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out, especially like in areas around here where I did kind of drive home some of these darker shadows. The blender just really kind of blended it out very, very nicely. So what I think I want to do now is maybe just kind of like give the dirt a little bit of personality. So I think what I'm going to do is a combination of like dots and just like little kind of, you know, flecks of, you know, the different kind of textures of dirt with a couple of browns. And then I think I'm also going to use my white chalk marker and my gel pens, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. And this is not, you know, anything that's going to be very systematic. I just kind of want to like give a little bit of interest, because dirt's not flat. Dirt is very textured. Dirt is very varied, very varied. I'm just kind of trying a few different colors here. I'm just doing this little area just to show you, but I'm going to do it across the whole thing. So yeah, I think we can just kind of go in and just give a little bit of interest here, and it'll just sort of be just a little bit of additional interest here on our dirt. All right, I got a lot of the kind of ancillary stuff out of the way. So now I want to do the grass over here. And I kind of thought that it was grass just based on kind of these little markings that the artist left for us, but it's also a great opportunity to just kind of differentiate between all of this dirt. So, but again, it's grass, so lots and lots of green on this page. So I'm actually going to introduce a new green that I haven't used yet. This is lime peel. And to start, I think I'm just going to do just an entire kind of foundational layer of lime peel across the whole thing. So that you guys don't have to watch that, I will do it kind of off camera, but I just kind of want to show you, I'm just using very light pressure and just kind of like circular, kind of, you know, curly Q strokes, just kind of hide my pencil marks because we are going to be layering on top of this. So I don't want to use pressure that is too heavy. I want to leave myself plenty of opportunity to layer on top. All right, we've got the foundational layer of lime peel, and what I'm going to do now is take apple green and just sort of go back in, and I'm not going to cover the entire thing again with this one. I'm just going to cover maybe like half of it, and it's just going to be in sort of random kind of splotches, for lack of a better word, just to add a little bit of interest. Because again, grass is not all one color, and we are going to layer again on top of this, but I just want it to be just a little bit more varied than one solid color. And just remember to do kind of like organic shapes. Like you don't want anything too uniform. It might even be hard to kind of pick up this on camera, but it's just going to be kind of like, I don't know, organic is the only thing I can think of. Irregular. Very random. And again, with very light pressure, just because we are layering on top of this and we want the ability to continue to add layers until we are happy. All right, so we've got our base layers, and now I want to go back in with Prussian green. And what I'm going to do is just sort of add little kind of textural spots here. And I am kind of mimicking the lines that the artist gave us. You can go right over those, but I'm essentially going to create more of them. And just little tufts, doesn't have to be a whole lot. And I do kind of want to extend it upwards and kind of outside of the grassy area. And it doesn't show up very well, but we might be able to kind of go back in later and fix that, maybe with a marker or, I don't know, we'll just kind of play around with it. All right, I think we have another opportunity to add in another color besides green. Very exciting. We're going to do a blue sky. And I've decided on Caribbean Sea, at least to start with. I've pulled powder blue as well, and we'll just kind of see what we get kind of as we go. And I'm just going to sort of combine these, trying not to like layer too much, definitely to interlace, but not to combine them, because I think when we blend, I'll get a nice outcome. And we're done. We are done with our vegetable garden coloring page. I really like the way that this came out. I hope that you guys do as well. I hope you learned a little bit of something. So if you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It makes it very, very happy. And just a quick note that a lot of you that watch my videos are actually not subscribed. I'm not sure what brings you here, but if you like the content and you want to see a little bit more coloring from me, I would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. I'm really close to 50,000, which is so awesome. And I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. So before I say goodbye today, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. They have been a long supporter of the channel. I'm gonna kind of jump into a little bit about them here in a moment, but I do just want to say thank you. And thank you for checking them out. It's definitely, sponsors that just help to keep the lights on here. So thank you so much for visiting here today. Thanks for coloring with me, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks again to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Now, if you liked learning from me today, you're going to love learning from all the talented creators on Skillshare's platform. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with thousands of classes in design, art, business, so much more. If you want to improve your knowledge on any topic, Skillshare has a class for you. Like this class, Color Theory 101 with Ariel Rassel. I highly, highly recommend learning about color theory. You'll find it so helpful when choosing and implementing color combinations and overall palettes in your coloring. Now, premium membership gives you unlimited access to classes, communities, and workshops that are just right for you and your learning goals. So join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for PencilStash viewers. The first 1,000 viewers to click the link below in the description will get a free trial of premium Skillshare membership. And with all the growth potential that these classes have to offer, that is a fantastic investment in yourself and your personal development. Act now for this special offer and start learning with Skillshare today.